Not ready for the big time. That's the theme in this one. Welcome into the Loochador Podcast, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Enter for your chance to win $10,000 Academy gift card plus SEC championship game tickets just by signing into the Academy app. The ultimate SEC football sweepstakes runs from October 8th through November the 18th. No purchase necessary. Odds depend on entries received. Ends again on November the 18th. You can find the complete rules at academy.com/official-rules. He's Billy Liucci. I'm David Nuño. No Luchador mask in this one. And Billy, if I would have told you that Texas A&M was going to face Joe Montana and Randy Moss, would you have believed it, knowing the offense that we had seen from Alabama leading up to this one? Because Milroe had a career game. Burton had a great game.
I don't think that was Joe Montana and Randy Moss. I think that was Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss, just chunking
it.
Sack, no running game, sack. Vikings had Robert Smith, but sack, no running game. Missed an open guy, deep shot. Great play by Burton, deep shot. Guy way too open, Burton way too open, deep shot. So I don't think it wasn't like that Milroe went out there and carved anybody up. I think he went out there and they had a terrific matchup that they felt they could take advantage of,
and he early.
And he executed that with those balls down the field. I thought we knew going in that the worry was, we said it since even last year, we saw him do it against A&M. He can throw a really nice deep ball, and the defense didn't have an answer, just like they didn't against Miami, and we knew that the teams in between were not really equipped to test it. We've talked about this. I've talked all offseason about my concern about the cornerback position. I think it's you want to see more aggression from Durkin after Miami. You've gotten that, and with that comes kind of, you're at the mercy of your coverage guys, and when it doesn't get there, and they got to Milroe 6 times, but on about 4 or 5 of those that they didn't get to him, he got the pass off. Guys were too open, or three's making a great catch. My most frustrating play of the game, I think, is when they rush like 3 and still get a deep ball shot down the field for a touchdown because there's a bust. But I'll credit Bama for coming in and Milroe for coming in and Burton playing the way he did. I think it's not a not ready for primetime thing, David. I think it is 26-20, leading 17-10 at the half. The way A&M played with them, they were ready for the game. They showed up. It was a hell of a game. Not perfect by either team. But
not ready to win those games.
Well, I think they're ready to win them. Like, that's the problem with it. They're ready to win them, but they're not. They didn't do it. They win those, quote unquote, those games. We talked about it this week. Jimbo's got plenty of those games. Not enough, though, but he's got plenty of them. They win those games. Alabama came in as the number 10 team in the country. This was not hey, go test yourself against number 1 and the 2-time defending national champs. That's not what this was. This was a top 10 team coming into Kyle Field against an A&M team that had a ton to play for and a ton to gain. And once again, you had that opportunity to take that massive next step. And I think here's where the frustration comes in. It's not that you lost 26-20. It's not that you lost to Bama at home. It's not that. It's that everyone knows, including Jimbo and all the guys that walked off the field, that everyone knows how winnable that thing was. And so when you get Bama, and Milroe played, he was throwing bombs down the field. He took some big hits. He hung in there. I thought he was the MVP. Well, I don't know, Burton with 197. Right. I'll say Milroe was the MVP, though, because of the beating he took, too, and to hang in there. But that Bama team, with all that said, it's not, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, I mean it, and if they go 11-1, I still believe it. It is as beatable an Alabama team as A&M's played since joining the SEC. And to get them at your house and this year, and there's a big thing though that is like after seeing the way that game went, you go, man, I wonder what Connor could have done. Mm-hmm. Some of that pressure, I don't think Michael Vick could have avoided, but they did lose their starting quarterback for the season. But Max Johnson is, like we've said, he's the most experienced backup in the SEC. He's plenty capable of, taking over. Most teams wish they had a backup quarterback that caliber. So you've got a Bama team that comes in that is very beatable. And the way that game played out, you watch them and you realize they're very beatable. They're coming to your house in a year where the West is wide open, and if you win that football game, you seize decent early control. Certainly a massive advantage over Alabama, the team that almost always wins it. It would have been, in terms of being an SEC contender at a real point in the season, it would have been the first time, I think, ever that A&M was truly an SEC title contender mid-season. Like a real like to say, hey, A&M's the front runner. I don't know that we've ever been able to say that, because remember in 2012, they had lost 2 conference games by mid-season. This would have been the only time, and it was right there in front of you. And everyone that watched that game, we could all sit here, and we will here in a minute, and talk about all the different ways it went wrong. And you realize if you could have cut out 10% of those ways it went wrong, you win this football game. So that to me is where, not ready for prime time. They're ready for that show. They could have played that game 10 times and won 5, but they didn't. They played that game last year against LSU. They did it.
I think what I mean is ready to seize the moment, maybe is a better way to phrase it, because the opportunity was there.
That's the program thing.
Yes.
And that's what I like. That's where you and I, we've talked about this. It's ready to, here's this opportunity. Here's this opportunity. Because, like I said, they were ready for primetime, it's all the more reason you need to win that football game and seize that opportunity. Because if you were outmatched, if you weren't good enough, if you never win games like that, A&M will sprinkle in the wins like that. That's fine. But this was the opportunity to win a game like that you've won 5 of the last 6 years at home. But this one meant more. Because this one wasn't an end-of-season game against LSU. It wasn't before you were going into an off-season with no bowl. It wasn't a highly ranked Kentucky or Auburn team that, didn't move the needle. It wasn't beating Bama when they're number 1 after you'd already lost 2 SEC games, and then you ended up losing 2 more. This was different, and this would have hit differently. This would have, I think, meant a lot more than any of those because of what it would have set up for you. And it was like, after Miami, you look up and you go, damn, we got a real chance here. We got a real chance here. And then you went out and, again, this was the thing we talked about. Well, you can't make those mistakes and lose to Bama. You can't. They did make mistakes and lost to Bama. Bama made plenty of mistakes themselves. So if that's what I was saying all week. You can make mistakes, but you got to avoid the catastrophic. And they had a couple catastrophics, and that was, to me, that was the entire difference in the game. Were a couple of these catastrophic mistakes that killed you. And the other thing was your O-line, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Your O-line, they got absolutely just demolished.
Bama made adjustments at the half.
They got demolished at halftime. And I keep saying it, man, and I think Le'Veon Moss is the answer, but 3rd and 1? 3rd and 1, was it 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2? But 3rd and short twice in that football game, and you probably win the game if you can convert. At the start of the game, you have 3rd and 1, and you get stuffed, and you go for it, 4th and 1. We'll talk about that in a minute. That was, a hot debate even during the game, but you get stuffed on 3rd and 1. And then you feel like you have to trick it up a little bit on 4th and 1 because you got stuffed. So 3rd and 1 is why you had to face 4th and 1. Instead of going up 7-0, or maybe you had to settle for 3 eventually, but 7-0, no points, momentum swing. And then in that 3rd quarter, they score, you get the ball back, tie game, You're moving right down the field. Le'Veon Moss is running really well. You get 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, whatever it was. Get stuffed. You have to punt it on 4th and 1. You don't have to, but that decision, go either way with it. It's a tie game in the 3rd quarter. Most people you're going to punt, even though you're on their side of the field. But short yardage, man. And against, Jimbo always talks about you have to take the inches. Every inch matters. And in that game, a couple of 3rd and 1s. I talked about the Miami game. A couple of false starts right before and right after halftime.
Billy,
changed the whole thing. And they're not good enough to overcome all that kind of stuff.
So you lose 26-20, but just hear me out here. If you go for a field goal, start the game, 3 extra points.
Yeah.
You don't get yours blocked, 3 extra points.
No doubt.
You don't get the safety, 2 points. Yep. You win that game under that scenario.
With all the other nonsense.
With all
not
the other
nonsense. It's not nonsense.
But
it was a
issues.
football game.
Right.
Yeah, the issues.
You held them to 23 yards rushing. You won the turnover battle. You won the penalties battle, and you out-sacked them. Like, you tell me that, I think you win, but there's a problem. Honestly, I think there's a problem with the offense, Billy. Like, the offense the last few weeks hasn't been what I thought it would be.
Well, you look at the first half of Auburn, second half of Arkansas, second half of Bama. Hey, look, 17 points against Alabama in the first half is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's something during the half. And again, they lost a starting quarterback. That's playing in. And I believe. Now, I don't know how many growing pain type things we'd have seen from Connor as he's kind of rolling through this SEC schedule for the first time and these SEC defense. We won't know that. We won't have that answer. So I don't know that. But there was a reason he won the job, and you can't say that you look around this league. If any, I mentioned it before. If LSU lost to Jaden Daniels, Mississippi State lost to Will Rogers, Jackson Dart goes out. What does Ole Miss look like? Like, there's a lot. Pretty much everybody. We've seen what Bama looks like without Milroe. There's 17 points against South Florida. But Max is plenty good enough, and he is, for them to produce more and score more and not get completely, because they just wouldn't have got completely shut down in that second half. And there are so many moments in that game where it's like, God, you had it. And I think one of them was the 2 third downs I talked about, not the fourth, but the 2 thirds.
Well, can I give you the 3 third downs? The 3 of them.
There's no
they went 4 of 12.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 that were deadly: 3rd and 15, touchdown. 3rd and 9, touchdown. End of the game, 3rd and 7.
You're talking about defense.
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, we got to talk about that. That's a whole different thing.
You're talking about
save that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about offense, like just moments of the game. Yeah, so many of their third downs. That was absurd. Just the ones that happen. And read them again, because that's
4. They went 4 of 12, but the 3 that I'm talking about: 3rd and 15, long touchdown. 3rd and 9, touchdown. 3rd and 7, end of the game, chance to get the ball back with a minute left, and that's that one
crazy play.
Yeah, crazy.
That one.
But they made it.
But come on now. That one. Let's not. That was an incredible. First of all, it was an incredible play by the A&M defense.
Mm-hmm.
They got in his ass immediately on a massive play of the game. He's falling down. They sacked him. He's falling down. It wasn't even an accurate throw. He just throws it up for grabs. The guy makes
amazing,
a terrific play.
But it was a deadly third down, is my point.
It was, but the other ones, to me, fall into you can't freaking let that happen. Their guys are running down the sideline doing this on that touchdown on 3rd and 7. They're yelling, sprinting down to get Milroe's attention because they know they have a touchdown play. They know it's 6. And he hits that slant. They had the matchup. Boom, boom, boom. Walks in, touchdown. That can't happen. Right. You have to hold them to a field goal there in that instance. And the odds are so much on your favor. And those longer passes that were completed are just bad, especially the one in the second quarter where he looks like he's fielding a punt to catch it and score. That to me, that was the worst defensive play of the game. A lot of the other ones were very well executed. Yeah, it's crazy. If you told me A&M was, got off the field 8 out of 12 third downs, because it felt
way worse.
Because, like you just pointed out, the damage was so significant when they did. Yeah, 3rd and 15, man, drive over. Instead, it's 7 points. That's the game right there. That's why there's so many things you go, they don't convert that 3rd and 15, you win. You get the turnover, and I'm sitting there and somebody tells me, it doesn't matter if you don't capitalize. And I said, no, it's actually fine, because they were going to kick a field goal. You get the ball back. I said, a 3 and out here, and you win the exchange. You flip field position, you make them, and they can't go 3 and out because it's a bad pick. It's a bad pick. And then the other one, another play that I thought that killed him was Anias is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
He's wide open. Walk-in touchdown. And I don't know if Max didn't see it quick enough, but he holds on to it too long. And then he throws it late, and it's a little underthrown, and allows the DB to get in there and break it up. That is a walk-in TD, as easy as they come against Alabama, and that ties the game in the fourth quarter. That ties it up in the fourth. There were so many plays. And that was right after Le'Veon's crazy run, right?
Yep.
And then you have that run on 3rd down, then you throw a touchdown. What does that do to Kyle Field and the momentum? And that was a killer. The blocked field goal obviously was a killer. Also, by the way, just you're talking about the offense. You get the ball on the 29-yard line after that turnover. You get on the 29, 30, Alabama's 30, fourth quarter, and you have to kick a field goal and then get it blocked. And you were still in it. Nia steps out by an inch or so, whatever it was. The one officiating thing that just really pissed me off was that holding call on Noah. I understand that's a hold by textbook definition, but for all the crap we've seen this year from officiating, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm not holding guy. I during Myles Garrett's era, I was. That Alabama O-line, I was watching field level, and when you see D linemen repeatedly get through the line of scrimmage and then pulled where they are running towards the quarterback and pulled backwards several plays in a row at one point, and the official, that side judge is watching, and he's looking, you see him from the field watching the O-line and watching the play, and he doesn't throw a flag. There was one drive in particular, and if you go back and watch it, they ended up sacking Milroe, I think, to end the drive, and it was back down here in the north end, first half. They were literally taking down, not holding, but I mean grabbing, pulling back, and pulling down, and they never call it, which is okay. Let them play. I'm a let them play guy. PI, coverage, let everybody be physical. But you can't switch it up in the final 2 minutes of the game and call that one on Noah Thomas. You can't. I know that was a hold. It was, it was close, but I mean, it was a hold. But you can't do it right there in that moment when you haven't done it the whole damn game. And such a pivotal key play. And I mean, that's a touchdown by Reuben Owens. You don't have to onside it at that point because you have 3 timeouts. And you mentioned that play. Incredible play. So even if they made that on their own 20, the game's over. Yeah. But there's a different level of pressure. The crowd's different. You had 3 timeouts. You're getting the ball back with a 3 and out in that instance, probably somewhere around the 35, 40-yard line with a couple minutes to go down and try to win the game. So that was that was the one time where I thought, yeah, A&M got the shaft there. But the rest of it they did to themselves, man. And DeBerry had a rough. I mean, this was like.
But it seemed like they were picking on him from the first drive.
Yeah,
they knew
that was a game plan.
Yeah.
That was absolutely a game plan. And Sean Porter's texting me and early on, and he's like, what are we,
what do you do?
Basically saying, do you put Chappelle, just have him follow him all over the field? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how corners is Chappelle comfortable going from one side to the other? And you would think so. I mean, covering's covering. I know I saw Harmon out there, shortly after that. That's probably my one thing that I'm so just disappointed in it is everybody knew what an issue corner was going to be. And, in a perfect world, there's a Denver Harris in year 2, Smoke Bowie in year 2, Groves Killebrew in year 2. They all transferred out and they're not having those players doesn't win you that game Saturday. Having those players be the kind of kids that you hoped they would be once they assimilate into a locker room. Point being, you had some misses in that class that should be in year 2 that could have really helped you, especially somebody like Denver. Frustrates the hell out of me that Chet Brooks' son is over there playing at Texas. He could be, in there. So there were some reasons why you're not sitting there with it. The biggest one is, Jalen Jones turns pro, a 7th round draft pick, but he went pro with a year left. How much a difference does he make Saturday? Bama torched him as a freshman. I doubt they'd have been torching him like that yesterday. And I'm not saying, I do think if Jalen Jones was on this team, they'd win that game yesterday. Because I think a senior like him, you probably could say, you go with him, or on every snap, either him or Chappelle's covering him. But he left for the draft. So we knew that they had to go out in the portal and really do some work at corner.
Well, they tried.
And they got Grimes and they got DeBerry, and Grimes has been hurt. But I think DeBerry probably played over him anyway, and they didn't do enough. And that was a concern going in. And in their two losses, the cornerbacks have been worked.
Yep.
And at least against Bama, you were getting to Milroe, you were getting to him, you were knocking him down, you're sacking him, you're playing behind the line of scrimmage. That's why Bama finished with 26 points and Miami finished with 48.
Yeah.
That's the difference there. I mean, this is a much better defense, even with the liabilities at corner. But my problem is they're sitting at 4-2, and you're sitting here going, how do they go from not finishing 7-5 or even 6-6? And I think they will be better than.
But the quarterbacks that are coming and the kind of offenses that are coming.
And Jackson Dart and
Joe Milton this weekend.
Spencer Rattler, Will Rogers, Jaden Daniels. Okay,
they all throw.
And the point is, you sacked Milroe 6 times. So it's not like Van Dyke just standing there like being able to pick you apart and having all day to throw. They got after him probably similar to how they will Rogers and Rattler and Dart and probably Milton this weekend. And I mean, this D-line is going to get after everybody now. They've settled in.
Here's the thing that worries me. Jalen Milroe did not run on you.
Yeah.
He threw on you. Mm-hmm. These guys are legit throwers. I don't think of Jalen that way. I mean, I know he can throw the deep ball, but he was.
But yeah, his miss is the stuff underneath, is what keeps you in it. But all those guys can go over your head too. And you look at the receivers like Neighbors and what's his name, 17 at South Carolina, Leggett, and they're just everywhere, up and down. You're going to. That's my concern is you can sack these guys 5, 6, 7 times, and you can stop the run. And you can stop. We at some point when you talk about what's right with because we're trying to project moving forward, this run defense. Remember last year? That's all you talked about. Like that old miss game just
the two areas
lingers in your head.
Linebacker and stopping the run, and I know they're connected. Both are playing out of this world.
Adrian Cooper's playing like a first-team All-American right now in SEC play. In SEC play, there's not a linebacker in college in the country. I mean, in the conference, playing better than him. Not Harold Perk. Nobody. Nobody's played like that guy has in 3 conference games. But against the run, they're unbelievable. I mean, it is incredible to hold Bama the way they did. I mean, I didn't even look yet at yards gained. Yards gained rushing. Bama
rushing yards had 23 rushing
Bama
yards.
was at 66 gained, not counting sacks or lost yards. So they went forward for 66 yards the whole game. And that 23-yard net, I mean, that is just punking them at the line of scrimmage. And they did that. So now you can say this D-line will do that to every O-line they play. Okay? They've done it to Arkansas, Auburn, Bama. They're going to do it to everyone else. But what does it matter if they're going to give up 5 plays of, let's just be conservative here and say 5 plays of 30-plus yards in a game through the air? What's it going to matter if they give up a couple long touchdowns a game and you combine that with an offense that, while at times looks really good, they haven't played a game this year
4 quarters
where they've looked good for 4 quarters.
Against a real opponent.
Miami, it was like, it was
good second half.
Good first quarter, but it was 2 short drives. Like Miami was, obviously the first half against Auburn, and that was with Wigman. Second half against Arkansas, and then that was what was that 3 second half turnovers, including giving up a pick 6, and then this game, obviously they produced 3 points.
But they scored 20 against Arkansas as an offense.
Mm-hmm.
They scored 20 against Alabama as an offense,
and
Auburn was
27. They were all on offense.
They were on offense.
But point being, they're scoring 20, and they're doing it in one half. So you're like, on one hand, you're going, can you put the halves together? On the other, you're going, what's happening? Why are they? I wouldn't say adjusting, because Auburn was the opposite. So the last 2 weeks, it felt like adjustments. I also think it's a momentum. It's like they can't sustain it enough to keep the drive. If you look at yesterday, somebody said, man, we didn't do anything in the third quarter. We couldn't move the ball. I said, I disagreed. Like, I thought they could move the ball. The problem was you had a damn turnover. And these second half turnovers in the last couple of weeks are killing. And really, even against Auburn, you gave up a turnover that kept them in the game. The game was over.
Yeah.
And a turnover that they were back. So, yeah, in the third quarter, if you look at the third quarter stats here, when you opened it up, Bama went on that touchdown drive. And to me, look, A&M, second play, fumble, okay? I mean, second play, interception, bad throw. Your own 37, even if you go 3 and out and punt there, but you ran 2 plays, then Bama went on another drive. And where are we at here? That next drive, you move from the Bama, or from your own 26, and you move to the, where do you move to here? The Bama 45. That was that 4th and 1. So you went 30 yards. You were running the ball. 30 yards. You can't get a 3rd and 1, and you have to punt. So you have 1 play and 1 drive. The one actual chance you gave yourself, you moved it down the field. If nothing else, you flipped field position, but no points. Punt, and then that's when everything really stalled out till the end. The pressure, though, man, at the end of the day, you lost this game to me because in the second half, your O-line got absolutely just throttled. I mean, they got their butts kicked. And no greater example than on those couple plays there where Max was like sack, safety.
So we looked at it, looking ahead here, about like the kind of quarterbacks they're about to face. All right. And there's fear in that, or concern, I should say. Conversely, though, if you want to look at any optimism, you're not going to face a defense like that the rest of the way.
No, and look, let me say this. When you miss an opportunity like this, you better be pissed off over there. It's very disappointing. I feel bad for them. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, hey, feel bad for them. Let's not critique it or criticize. I'm just saying I think they know what just got away. I think they know. And I think going into that game, and I think rightfully so, they believe that they would go out there and beat this football team. Not in a cocky way. I just think they knew that what we have here can beat what they have here with this crowd behind us. And the 12th man was incredible. How many false starts did Bama have?
I'm trying. 9.
9. That's amazing. And I was saying on that drive when it went from like 3rd and 9 or something to 3rd and 25, and I was like, if A&M, if we win this game,
it'll be this series.
It's the 12th man game. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. It's the 12th man game because the 12th man just willed this team back into it. So the crowd was incredible, but I know they sat there and knew they could win that football game before it. And I know they knew it walking off the field. And I'm sure they felt like, just like they did last year in Tuscaloosa, but I think even more so this year because last year they limped in there. And last year there were a lot more signs that wasn't a good football team. This was a team that fairly was being described, not by us, for those, the handful of people that get mad and they want to take, not by us, but by everyone in the country. By the country, by the people at the SEC network, college football writers, everybody thought this A&M team is ascending. They're playing better and better football. They have a real chance to beat Bama, hence the Vegas line dropping the way it did during the week to where it was almost getting to be just essentially a coin flip game. Everyone thought, because they were going off what A&M had shown, that this was an ascending team. This was a team that was getting better. This is a dangerous football team. It doesn't have to not still be that way. I'm very concerned moving forward because of the matchups and because I know that no matter how good that defense is at getting to the quarterback and stopping the run, the offense is going to have to score more. Now, look, Arkansas's sorry-ass defense held Ole Miss 27 at home this week. But still, you're going to have to score 30-plus to win some of these games down the stretch. Whether that's this weekend at Tennessee, certainly would feel like you would have to against LSU, probably Ole Miss, maybe at home South Carolina and Mississippi State, not so, but maybe Rattler and Rogers. So, but I mean, certainly to even get to 8-9 wins, you're going to have to score in the 30s in some of these games. That's what concerns me. But David, you're right, and we talked about all week. That's the best defense they're going to play all year. We could talk about this in a minute, but we saw Miami, and I do want to talk about that because that's the best defense. Bama might end up being the best team A&M plays this year. I mean, maybe it ends up being LSU, but even if it's LSU, that's a one-dimensional team. I think Bama's a better team. You give me Bama or LSU in Tuscaloosa later this year, I still think I pick Bama. So, yeah, you probably just played the best defense and the best team you'll play all year, and you lost in a game where we just spent 30 minutes talking about why they could have and should have won. So moving forward, it doesn't change the fact that you can beat anybody. But I think when you take the Miami passing game, the Alabama passing game, and what they did, it means you better – I'd love to see them fix that. But it means you better get your offense in gear.
In gear.
Again, in gear against – that was a great defense. But what happened in the second half against Arkansas? What happened in the first half against Auburn? What happened against – so there's not a fluidity. There's certainly improved over last. It's not. You can't even discuss it. Yeah. How much better. And that was with A-Chain. They scored 20 against Bama, and that was all offensive, right? There was no 10-yard field. Right. There was no give. How many did Ole Miss score, this offense that we're talking about how scary they are against Bama?
14? 10
points. So it's not the end of the world. It feels like it today. You lost to Alabama at home by 6. It's the opportunity you missed that's the frustration. Texas A&M in the last 4 years has beaten LSU at home. They beat Alabama at home. They beat LSU at home. Imagine that talking point. Scrub everything else. I mean, you could say over the last 4 years, they've won every home game against Bama or LSU. They're 4-0. That was like one of the many, but to me, that was going to stand out because that's what Jimbo got here and saw that he needed to be done, is we need to be able to match Bama and LSU, and we need to start beating them. We need to get our talent level to where it needs to be, and then we need to start beating them. And they've got the talent level there. They had been beating them at home. And then the one that you really could have benefited the most from, and against a Bama team that was not anything like the others you've played. I mean, they are at position. Those corners are great, the D-line. And you can't take advantage. And then you look at Miami losing to Georgia Tech, and I know it was a freakish game. And Mario Cristobal, what in the hell are you doing?
My goodness.
Your guy.
Who beat us.
Who almost beat us, by the way, at Florida International several years ago. He was their head coach and came in here and was beat. They almost beat A&M. Cyrus Gray, Kristen Michaels saved the day. But that guy makes a boneheaded play. But the bottom line is they were still in a last-minute game with Georgia Tech. They end up losing to
Haynes King.
And congratulations to Haynes. That's awesome. The timing of it.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, man, that's just like, it's not salt in the wound because you're happy for him, but it's just like, it's the irony of it is on the same day that night Haynes beats the team that beat you. Should have never been in that position. What an awful decision by Cristobal. But point is, that Miami team that beat you just lost to Georgia Tech. It doesn't matter anymore once you lose to Bama. This is not A&M jockeying for playoff position. But what it does for me when I see this score and I watch this game, and at halftime, David, did you feel like, I'm going to ask you this.
I thought we were going to win at halftime.
Pretend you know nothing about the second half.
I thought we were going to win.
But why do you think A&M was winning that game? Why do you think?
Because we got to the quarterback, 4 times? We had 17 points. You think you double that up, that's 34. That's why.
Here's why. Because you watched 30 minutes of football.
We were the better
and
team.
you thought A&M looked like the better football team.
Yeah.
And you're probably going, it should be 20-10 or 24-10.
But 60 minutes of football, we weren't.
You said at halftime, I think you, me, and everybody else were probably walking around going, we're better than these guys. Over 60 minutes yesterday, they were better. It was close. It wasn't by a wide margin, but they were better. You know, it didn't feel like a fluke that they won. You know, if you replay that game, though, you'd have a real chance at it. And you see Miami lose to Georgia Tech, the only other game they've played against anyone with a pulse, and you're going, you know what? God, you should have gone down there and beaten that team. My point is, you could be the team sitting at 6-0 after a carnage Saturday in college football and be sitting at 2-3 in the polls right now with all the momentum in the world. And that's where the frustration is, because it was right there in front of you. So what is still in front of you?
10-2 season is in front of you.
I think that's how you scrub this and you make this palatable.
But yes.
But it's hard.
It's hard to see that.
They're going to have a hard time this weekend alone.
But they haven't won on the road in forever. So, like that, I think everything's on the table right now.
And you got 3 big road games.
Would I believe 10-2 with this team, the way their defense plays, at least the front end? Yeah, I can believe it. But I can also believe 7-5.
I want to see them get to, if they could get to 9-3, I will be. And again, that sounds like if that's capitulating or whatever, that's what I said before the season. And that was before Connor Wigman got hurt. Now, you know, going into yesterday, that would frustrate me to say, oh, I'd love to see it if they could only get to 9-3, because I'm sitting there going, no, you can win this game. And we all know after watching it, they could have won that game. You could have lost it too. I think those two teams played 10 times at Kyle Field. Maybe not in Tuscaloosa. At Kyle Field, I think that's 5-5. At worst, it's Bama 6-4.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if it's that. We watched the whole game. It's like, okay.
But they made the adjustments that I didn't see A&M make. And then.
But it still was.
We went through this play.
You can say they made the adjustments. I can say, what adjustments did they make to you know,
They got to the quarterback. They got 4 times in the second
I know
half.
I'm saying, what adjustments did they make to make you go, oh, they're just that much better? I just think you could play that game again and beat them. You can't convince me otherwise. But they didn't. So you're 0-1. You're not playing them 10 times. You're 0-1. It's not 5-5. You're not playing. You don't have a chance to even it up at 1-1. It's 0-1, and you really have a 2-game deficit. And I'm not even worried about that because I need to see them go win a road game, like you said.
Yep.
I need to go see them play a team that can throw the ball at all with any capability.
You beat Tennessee, then it feels like, okay, because they might be the best aerial attack you take on minus LSU. LSU's pretty darn good throwing the ball.
Oh, God.
And you have to go to Death Valley. But if you go on the road and beat Tennessee, then I think you're like, you split the 2 toughest games of the year. I can see a path for this team being a 9 or 10 win team.
This Tennessee game is you just touched on it, though. It's vitally important, and I do think your season swings in the balance. I mean, is there a world where you go on to the bye week and come out and make some adjustments and win out? Yeah, sure, I guess. But the reality is you see what you saw, right? And you're trying to project that out because it's all you can do right now. You see what you saw here. You saw it against Arkansas, Auburn, Miami. You take it all together. And then you look at the teams you're playing and you factor all that in and you go, it's going to be tough. It's certainly not impossible. It's going to be tough. But if you went and won at Tennessee a week from now, what you're saying, it rings totally different because you go into a bye, you're 3-1 in the conference. You go into a bye week to get your act together in certain areas, maybe tinker with some personnel where you're falling short. And you come back and you play 2 of your next 3 at home. And it's winnable home games against South Carolina and Mississippi State. You defend your home field. That's 5 conference wins. Now you're going to Oxford for another massive game. And for Ole Miss, that's going to be really big if they keep going the rate they are. So you've got plenty of opportunities ahead to make this still one of those climb back up the ladder seasons. But, man, if you keep doing what you're doing in terms of just inconsistency on offense, inconsistency on offense, big plays in the secondary, guys that can't cover. I would say elite receivers. 3's elite. I don't think Miami has anybody elite. They have some guys that are good.
Mm-hmm.
But you got elite ones coming up. And those concerns are why I'm sitting here going today, you're like, God, they're close, but are we going to be saying that about several more games this year? That's what it feels like today. I don't expect Tennessee to have their way with A&M. I think that's going to be a hell of a football game. I don't expect A&M to not go to Death Valley and score points on that defense.
I agree.
I don't expect Will Rogers, Spencer Rattler to come in here and survive the sack attack. But you could certainly see a lot of close losses where we're sitting here saying the same thing. They should have won it. I think, David, what you're looking at right now today is you go, they'll probably lose a lot of games like Bama or Miami where they either can't keep up scoring or you look back and you go, yeah, line that up again, they could have won it. But just enough to not win it. So they've got to really improve as a football team to get accomplished what they can still, which is to kind of erase that feeling from yesterday and call the season a success. We said 9-3 and a bowl win. I think obviously 10-2 and a New Year's 6 would be massive. But it's just hard to project that and feel great about it right now. But it can change in a week because here's what just happened. It changed in a week. And again, for the people that can't handle like the loss and it ruins your day and your weekend and your week and your family life, and I'm talking about the real crazies. I'm not talking about the people that just get really disappointed when Texas A&M football can't get it done. That's all of us. But the real crazies, if you want to blame us, it's not just us. It was the whole country. There's a reason this game was primetime. There's a reason the spread was what it was. There's a reason so many people picked A&M to win the game. It was because of what everybody saw on the football field. So going into yesterday, we're feeling like this. Today, we're looking at – so yesterday we're going to the schedule going, hey, not us, by the way, the whole country.
They win here.
If A&M wins here, everyone was saying that. If A&M wins against Alabama, which they very well might, look out, they might win the West. Chris Doering, they might be the best team in the SEC right now over Georgia. You saw Georgia yesterday. Auburn to Kentucky in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Kentucky, what they did to Florida, what happened to them against Georgia. So A&M was on the wrong side of that this week. Everybody got up on A&M. Bama hung on. They won a hard-fought-ass game at Kyle Field. They made the plays. They won the game. They made the adjustments. They won the game. A&M had moments to make the play. They wilted. They couldn't get it done. Close, no cigar. And then you go win at Tennessee Saturday, and for A&M anyway, and it doesn't shake up college football or anything, but then how much changes? Wow, they just went on the road and won in front of 100,000. So then how good do you feel about Ole Miss and LSU after that? Wow, they beat Joe Milton in that potent Tennessee passing game. Oh, we have hope against Dart, Rattler, Rogers, Daniels now. Great job there. You win that game at Tennessee. Oh, wait, you're 3-1 in the SEC going into a bye? Just keep winning, see what happens. You're 3-1 and you get South Carolina at home, you're going to be favored to go 4-1 in the. So it can change in a week. It just did change in a week for A&M. The air got completely let out of the balloon there in the second half. I mean, it was like the balloon, and then I don't know if the balloon burst, but it was just like halftime. You're walking around at halftime of that game going, about to beat Bama, going to be 3-0 in the SEC with a massive showdown in Knoxville. Well, that equation changed just like that, and so it can do the same thing again in a game where, hell yeah, A&M can beat Tennessee with that defensive line, but they're going to have to be a lot better on offense starting Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have to figure out how to better protect a secondary that just they don't look to me like they can match up and cover the best of the best. And like you said, Milroe can chunk the hell out of a deep ball, but there's way better passers, down to down, accuracy, short stuff, quicker reads, getting rid of the football quicker. There's a lot better out there that they're going to see. So for as down as I am today about the opportunity that they let slip, I will be just as equally as high if they can go win this weekend. But I'm sitting there going, there's a flip side to every coin, and you lose that thing, and you're 2-2 in the league, and your wins are against Auburn and Arkansas, and you've lost games to Tennessee, who got smoked by Florida, Bama, who isn't the historic traditional Bama, and Miami that lost to Georgia Tech. I feel like this game is a lot bigger than we've really, because of yesterday and the frustration in it, than we've really let kind of sink in. I think as the week goes on, we'll realize, man, this is a
season.
It's a very significant
fork in the road part of the year right now.
Well, and it's a season, and if the season goes one way, then it's like, the way Jimbo and those guys are recruiting, you want to maintain that, and it makes it that much harder. So it is it's a huge swing. But again, 24 hours ago, we're sitting here feeling pretty damn good. Yeah. So they have a chance to reverse it, but they need to. And look, they have to. Again, it's year 6, and it was there for the taking. It's been there for the taking. Somebody's going to take it, and it may very well be Bama, but if it's not them, if it's Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, or if it's, and it probably won't be, it'd probably be Bama, but if it's Bama or Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, or if it's LSU 2 years in a row with Brian Kelly, that's not good. Mm-hmm. Like it needed to be this right here. But the good news, man, I really do think they have a chance to do that. I think Alabama beat Ole Miss way worse than this. You look at the Auburn-Georgia game. You look at Arkansas in the week before and the week after A&M. Like, we're scared of LSU and Ole Miss now, right? We've gone back from thinking we beat them being scared. That's how it goes,
yeah,
right?
of course, yeah. It's
Like,
emotional.
man, Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart. Crap, we're bombs away. Well, Jackson Dart, Max Johnson produced more touchdowns than Jackson Dart did against this defense. Arkansas gave LSU and Ole Miss much better games than they gave A&M. Auburn gave Georgia a much better game than they gave A&M.
Yeah.
So they're not far off. It feels like they're a world away today. And sitting here in year 6 going they're not far off isn't what you sign up for. But just the reality of this is the world we're living in today in October of 2023. And they're not that far off. But it's like this. It's like you're on a tightrope, and you really can't turn around. You're from here to that wall off, but one false step and you could just plummet.
Yeah.
Because, there's going to be a game here coming up pretty quickly that it might be Tennessee. It might be where this little play, that one false start, that one interception, that one missed open receiver, that one drive where your O-line collapses, that one lack of a halftime adjustment, a Jimbo decision, whatever that may be, it could derail a whole season because now they're kind of at that real crossroads. But just like they would have beat Bama, and we said season's not over, there's a lot of work to do. They lost to Bama, season's not over. I think SEC West title is a pipe dream. I just don't see how Bama
loses 2 more.
Not that they've already played A&M and Ole Miss and beat both of them. I don't see how they lose 2. I think in worst case scenario, they drop 1. Hell, who knows? Maybe they lose to Tennessee and LSU. This O-line, I don't trust them on short yardage. I don't. There were a couple plays. That's the play Amari Daniels fumbled against Miami. He got blown up. Mm-hmm. That was a 3rd and a yard or 2. Big moment of the game.
Struggled, yeah.
There's the false start against Miami down there. And by the way, there's so many. If you think about there's so many times. And in this game Saturday, it's different. Of all the nonsense, it's different if you can convert 3rd and 1 on either or 2 occasions. 3rd and 1. And so, but I'm telling you right now, all of that's born out of you're getting whipped at the point of attack. And I think Adazio and he's got to do a better job with that offensive line. I mean, look, I say that A&M whipped Alabama's O-line every bit as bad. I mean, they had more sacks. It's just 1. Essentially the same number of sacks.
But they made I think they made adjustments in the second half because there wasn't as many sacks.
They were still getting a Milrow in the second half.
Didn't feel like as often.
They forced fumble. They sacked him to kill that. They got after him in the second half.
They got 2.
He hit some. They did make the adjustments better than A&M did, but the Aggie defensive line whipped Alabama's O-line's ass.
But
A&M's O-line got their asses kicked by Bama's O-line, D-line. It happens. The difference is it's happening for people in Tuscaloosa will tell you multiple seasons. But this at A&M, this was a really bad offensive line a year ago, and they needed to make a massive jump. And in the 2 games that they've lost, you can go back and again, like I said, there's no shame that Bama's D-line got the best of your O-line. Because I'm saying, that other team you played, your D-line throttled them.
But what I was going to ask you about that, I would have liked to see Max roll out more.
Different but same. I would have liked to see some more things called where just by design he's getting the ball out of his hand a lot quicker.
Yeah. Because he held
on to it too long. Anyway, we've said that. I said that was going to be the big difference. And I go back and find it. I said after Connor got hurt, the problem you're going to run into is Max is going to hold on to the ball a lot longer. He's just way more deliberate. Just like that throw to Anias, he doesn't throw it in time. It's not a touchdown. It's an incompletion. sometimes that's going to happen with him. There are other things he does better. But a quarterback that's longer to get rid of the ball and an offensive line, I said when Connor got hurt, that does not feel like the best combination unless that offensive line steps it up. And maybe you give him more protectors, whatever they've done to adjust. But one of the adjustments is this, it's catch it, turn, get rid of it. Catch it. I mean, we see teams do that to A&M because of their defense. I don't think they did enough of that. But my point of what I was saying is, you're in the SEC, your O-line's going to get worked sometimes. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And Bama's O-line got worked. My point I was saying, and Bama's O-line got worked every bit as badly as A&M's did. You can talk about adjustments, whatever. Their O-line got their ass kicked. They ran for 25 yards. They gave up 6 or 7 sacks. Milroe was taking a pounding. Both lines, both got throttled by 2 really good defensive lines. But that's not for A&M. That ain't a one Saturday thing.
It's been
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That ain't a one Saturday thing. So that is a multi-year thing. That since, and really Henson's last year for a while there. But that's Adazio. Since he's gotten here, this line has not been very good. And I thought they were getting better. They are getting better, but they're not good enough to. If you lose the battle to Bama on a 1 to 10 scale, lose it on a 4. Don't lose it on a 10.
Right.
And Miami did the same thing. And we talked. That was our big thing after that game. It's how many times did Connor Wigman get hit and smash? In that Miami game, if Max is a quarterback, how many times does Max get sacked? There was 5 yesterday. Is it 8? Maybe. Remember that pressure?
Yeah.
So that's the that to me is when you're trying to win football games and you go, oh, well, why they throw it on 4th and 1? Well, unfortunately, I think that's part of your answer lies in the fact they didn't think they could block it out because they couldn't do that on 3rd and 1 either. So I don't mind either of the decisions. I like the field goal there, but I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue that you really got to look at is on this football team, and it's what were 3 of the questions were corner, linebacker, and there were 4 of them. Where's the pass rush going to come from? Cornerback, linebacker, O-line. Linebacker, A+. Pass rush, A+. Cornerback, major concern. Really killed you in both your losses. And O-line got beat up, roughed up badly in your 2 losses. That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. We're at 4-2. And I think they're playing. You're back to the Arkansas game now, where it's a must-win. You're back to the Arkansas game. You had this in front of you. You couldn't get it done. You're back to Arkansas. You have to win. Here's the difference. It's Rocky Top, 100,000 coming off a bye week versus an Arkansas team that's now lost 4 in a row in kind of the split Jerry world. This is a big, big difference. This is easily A&M's. I'm not sure it's not their biggest challenge of the year because you had Bama at home. And I know they're better than Tennessee. You had them at home. Going up to Knoxville this weekend, it might be the biggest mountain you have to scale in a single week so far this year.
Yeah.
They got to do it. There's no excuses. There's certainly no excuses today either about the performance. When I say I think they play that game again and they could have won and stuff, it doesn't mean it excuses the fact that you could have beaten Bama. It's actually pointing out that you could have and should have beaten them, and it's an opportunity that you did not take advantage of.
Yeah.
Stinks, man, but it's a long. How many teams haven't lost a game in the SEC? 2.
Yep.
I think it's 2. I think it's only 2 now, right? Yeah.
Missouri had a golden opportunity too.
It's only 2 of them out of 14. and it's the same 2. But you had a chance to make it a different 2, and you didn't. So we'll see. Like we said, the whole thing sounds differently if they win Saturday, but what they've been doing will not win Saturday.
Nope.
What they've been doing will not win. You have to play 4 quarters of offense. You're going to have to protect Max. You're going to have to. Joe Milton can't complete passes over the top. I don't see a game that A&M wins if Joe Milton throws for 300-plus yards. I don't think A&M wins that game. Because for him to get there, he's not doing it with underneath accuracy, down after down after down, under the pressure A&M will put on. He's going up top. And I think if A&M lost to Bama 26-20, if Milton goes off, they might lose that game, 33-27. And we'd be saying the same thing. You had your chances. But if things stay the same, they won't win in Knoxville. But they can win in Knoxville. So we'll see.
Thank you, Billy, and thank you to our friends at Academy Sports and Outdoors. We'll do it tomorrow on TexAgs Radio.
By the way,
yes, sir.
For those wondering, I come in here and talk. This is why we do this. You host, we talk. I talk a lot. You get him for 15 hours this week. You get him and OB for 5. So enjoy this, enjoy that, and that's that.
What was that about?
Oh, the people that complain, because I'll sit here and filibuster. And I'm getting all my thoughts out. It used to be nothing on a Sunday till you got here.
Right.
Now we get this, so we don't have to wait all day, writing that long form cover. So we're getting a double dose.
Double dose.
Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry we couldn't put the damn masks on today. I wanted to throw the mask. I wanted to take it and throw it, but I felt like respect the mask, and I feel like that's, you're asking for, like, they're going to be like, okay.
You do that?
Hello, losing streak. You throw the mask, you don't get to wear the mask. So they sit there, they wait for another week. Hopefully we can make it happen.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the show.